Good afternoon and welcome to the Windsor Wednesday show. Today I'm your host, Kelly Laing, and I'm joined today by some fantastic guests from our amazing UWindsor community. I would love to give our guests a chance to introduce themselves and provide us with a brief bio of who you are, what you do at the University of Windsor, and maybe a fun, interesting fact about yourself. So I'd like to start off with Dr. Cavallo, who is in the left bottom square of my screen. Introduce yourself and, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. So my name is Dr. Dora Cavallo-Medved. Most students just call me Dr. Cavallo on campus. I'm excited to be here today. I'm a professor in the Department of Biomedical Sciences, which is in the Faculty of Science. And I play many roles and wear many hats in the Faculty of Science. One of my primary roles is as a teacher and instructor. I teach the first year cell biology course, and I often see students right when they come to university. I'm probably one of the very first classes that most of our students take. But in addition to that, I also am involved with student experience, and I work out of the dean's office, managing and directing the USci Network, which is a group of students that have come together to create many different initiatives in which we can engage our students. Things like women in science and careers in science and science meets art and all of these wonderful initiatives that engage our students to get them involved within the Faculty of Science, use what they're learning in the classroom to be able to apply that to anything that they're going to be doing later on in their careers. And finally, my third major hat is I'm also the co-director of the Windsor Cancer Research Group, which is under the WeSpark Health Institute, and where I help and support our cancer researchers both on campus at the University of Windsor, as well as Windsor Regional Hospital and other organizations within the community itself. So lots of different roles. I'm excited to be here to speak about all of it and any questions that you guys might have. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cavallo. We're so happy that we have you here today. And thanks for everything you do at the University of Windsor and for the Windsor community. Up next, we have Nulia. I would love for you to introduce yourself, help us get to know you a little bit more.
Hello, my name is Nulia Wokulo, and I'm a second-year student at the University of Windsor. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria, and my program is Biological Sciences. I'm just a unique person and just do things my own way and be myself. I want to be a doctor in the future. That's a family doctor. I used to take first-year classes with Dr. Cavallo right here. It was pretty good, but since this COVID time came, things were kind of different, but just hoping for normal life to go back. And I want to be in person again, and I just love being with you guys. Being a doctor, it's kind of in my blood, and I want to help people get better, and I'm useful and helpful to my friends. I give lots of advices, and I remember when my parents tell me, they also act like doctors too, especially my mom, telling me what's good for our bodies and what's good for our hearts too, and how much we should keep on the good days. So get to know me, and I love baking too. And if I open a bake sale, you might be happy again. A doctor who also likes to bake and might want to open a bake sale too. I make lots of baked goods and they love it too. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Nulia. I feel the same as you. I think this learning from home time has been tough, but I think we see a bright horizon in the future, and hopefully we'll be back, on campus very, very soon. Up next, we have Josh. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. Help us get to know you.
Okay, then. Hi, my name is Josh Bowden. I am a first year at the University of Windsor, a English major, who has absolutely no idea what he's going to do in the future as of now. So I can probably relate with a lot of people at this moment. Let's see. What else is there about me that's interesting? I'm 18 and I am the current president of a club on campus. We are known as the United Fandoms. To put it simply, we're a place where if everyone doesn't know your name, we definitely want to. So come on down.
Thanks so much, Josh. And I think there's a lot of us out there who even now are still trying to figure out what we want to do in the future. And that's totally, totally okay. And I'd like to get into our questions today. I know we've all been, off campus and learning from home. And my first question is for Dr. Cavallo. How did life on campus change, after COVID for you in terms of work, course load, and your involvement with the community?
Yeah, so I mean, just like everyone else, life was flipped upside down when COVID hit, and we had to quickly pivot online. I was in the middle of teaching a biological diversity course at that time, and so we had to try to manage all of that. But since then, obviously, life has gotten a little bit more complicated in some ways. We've had to learn a lot about technology and how to deliver our classes online. I have to say, I enjoyed learning the new skills that I now have, I didn't have before. So that part was good. The only bad thing was that I didn't get to be with students. And that's probably the worst thing that's happened to me with respect to on-campus life, is that I don't get to meet with students face to face. I don't get to run into them in the hallway. I don't get to talk to students after class. I remember Nulia would always come up after class and ask questions, and I got to know her a little bit that way as well. So I am missing that part, and I do try to meet with students on Teams, for example, and have meetings with them. But it's just those little things that you miss, the social interactions that I'm hoping we can get back to, at least in some form, in September moving forward, because I really, really enjoy getting to know those students. So, and especially the first years, I think it's been difficult for them to come to university and not really be there physically, but have to learn how to navigate. And it's already difficult to navigate even when we are in person. So to do that online, I have to give them a lot of credit to be able to have been successful in doing that as well. So that's the major thing. As far as workload, it's always busy, whether we're in person or online. There's always lots to do, and we're trying to always engage those students in helping us do that work as well.
As a current student, and I'm sure I'm speaking for most students, is we're so appreciative of professors like yourself who do take that extra step and meet with students during teams. And I think the University of Windsor has really done a great job of keeping that open communication, especially when we are all learning from home. But like I said, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I want to turn my next question to both Josh and Nulia. And Josh, I'll start with you first. As a student, how did your on-campus life change in the last year?
Let's see. My on-campus life, well, it's been this all year, so it hasn't really changed much. But in terms of it being in general, I've found it pretty enjoyable. It gives a decent communication between the staff and the students. Plus, I find it helps have better conversation, because not everyone has very good conversation skills person to person.
I totally agree. I actually feel very much the same way. I enjoyed online learning, but I can also see the other side of it, especially for first-year students who are missing out, on that on-campus fun for their first year at school. And Nulia, I'd love to ask you the same question. How have you found this past year learning online, not necessarily getting to go on campus as much? How has it affected you?
Well, it's been kind of stressful because going on my computer almost all the time, it's almost like we have to work on our computer like the whole day, and almost my brain and my head feels like burned out. So, but since I've been taking breaks after classes, like going outside for a walk and making myself useful by exercising, and it's so miserable. No on-campus life, not fun activities again, just everything online. It's so boring indoors. And I can't just sit down inside indoors all day. I want to get some sun. Like all of us on campus, whenever we go to our next classes, we always get some sun every time we walk to the next building. It's so good and gives us lots of energy. But since COVID came, I just thought I was going to stay in China, but no, just came to the whole world, and it's just so annoying.
I think you made some really good points. The University of Windsor has a beautiful campus. So you do take that time. I never thought of that in between classes, walking over to the next building, getting to see the beautiful ivy on the buildings we have on main campus. And I think you've done a pretty great job of realizing, let's get outside for a walk and keeping up your mental health and your happiness by getting some vitamin D. I have another question actually for Dr. Cavallo. You're so involved in the school and in the Windsor community. And I'd love to ask you how students or future students, those grade 12 students who are thinking about Windsor can get involved on campus or in the local community, whether they decide on the sciences, studying the sciences, or maybe just get involved in local charities or social groups. Can you share any advice with our students listening?
Yeah, absolutely. We have so many opportunities on campus across the University of Windsor. We have lots in the Faculty of Science, and as you mentioned, in the community as well. I would say the number one thing for students to do is pay attention. When opportunities come up, go for it. Just send an email, a text, or follow Instagram or other social media sites, and look out for these opportunities, because there are tons, and they can range from anything from volunteering to any of our student clubs and organizations that we have, departmental clubs, faculty clubs. USci Network has tons of different initiatives that students can be involved in, to also thinking about doing community service, and that can be with local organizations that are affiliated with the University of Windsor. So for example, our WeSpark Health Institute has a student network that works with our community partners. And then also think about things like undergraduate research, getting involved in that research, approaching professors and asking if you can volunteer in their labs, and then eventually do a thesis. That's another way of doing it as well. In the Faculty of Science, we also have service learning and internship courses that students can take, that they can get paired up with a partnering institution or a local company that they can work with. Again, it's building those connections. And as soon as you open one door, you'll see like 10, 20, 50, 100 more doors open up. But it really requires you to take that first step. And I think that's one of the major differences coming from high school into university, is that people are going to come to you asking you if you want these opportunities. It's you as a student have to start taking charge of your own journey and your own destiny. So even a hello or an after class, hey, is there something I can be involved in? Or meeting other students and saying, hey, what are you a part of that I could maybe join? Again, is making that first step, taking the initiative, and be engaged.
I agree. And I think the University of Windsor has done a great job in offering, there's so many things you can get involved in on campus as a first year. Something that I've been involved in is the Ignite program. So students at the University of Windsor can also work while studying, and there's great opportunities on campus, whether to work for a faculty or work for a professor. And these are all things you can use on your professional portfolio. And what that means, as a first year student, you could start working on that resume as an intern or even volunteering. That all goes on a resume. And like you said, so many doors open and so many networking opportunities are available. You just have to speak up and do the research. It's definitely there for you, especially here at the University of Windsor. I'd like to turn it over again to Josh and Nulia. Josh, I'll start off with you this time. As a University of Windsor student, I know you're involved on campus, so I'd like for you to just talk about that. And what advice would you also give to students who are thinking about getting involved in the University of Windsor community?
Okay. As I had previously mentioned, I am the president of the United Fandoms, a club on campus. Me and a friend of mine brought it over from our high school, actually, and back then we used it as a place where anyone could get together and just talk about fandom things they like: Star Wars, Harry Potter, Disney, musicals, that kind of shtick. And advice that I would really give to anyone would be just go out there, give it a chance. You see something that you think is interesting, go out and give it a try. If you like it, then you can stay. If you don't, then c'est la vie.
Definitely. And I think you make a great point. There's so many different clubs on campus and so many different interest groups. And if you can't find one, then make one. The University of Windsor has so much support for you to create a club or create a group and find like-minded people. And it's a very inclusive campus, and there's definitely a club out there for you. And Nulia, same question. Have you gotten involved on campus? What advice would you give a student who's looking to, volunteer or get involved in a club or anything like that?
Yeah, like Dr. Cavallo said, find a job, like work with the faculty, and like I said before, try and get your mental health good, and try and join the club. Like I said, I joined the bake sale if I want to open for myself, or if you can't really find anything, make up something for yourself, like a lemonade stand, or just dance to some music. Well, during my second year, I've been trying to find a job, like a part-time, but I wasn't able to because of this situation. But I'm hopefully in third year when I go back on campus to find a job on campus, or just one off campus that's 20 hours per week, and get to know others back on campus, and try walking around too instead of staying in your room all day. And my advice is be yourself and have fun, and try to look for something that you like. Like my dad said, throughout this journey, try to find something you like during your courses, and whatever you want to be, whether a doctor or a PE teacher or whatever, just see how well it goes.
I think that's excellent advice. And like you said, our mental health is so important right now. So even just going out for a walk and meeting like-minded people, but it's about making that first step and, speaking up and saying that I'm here to volunteer and I want to get involved. And before we move on, I know we have some viewers watching in. If any of our viewers would like to ask, Nulia, Josh, or Dr. Cavallo a question, please pop it in the comments and we'll be looking to see your questions coming through. Moving on, a question for Dr. Cavallo. What would you say to high school students who are interested in attending the University of Windsor, specifically to focus on the sciences? Do you have any advice for them? Do you want to pump up the program a little bit? Give us some knowledge on that topic.
Yeah, for sure. So my first advice is make sure that you're taking the right courses so that you can apply to our programs. And so if you look at our view book or you go online, you'll be able to see the courses that you need to take to get into the various programs. I mean, the maths and the sciences are going to be your core courses that you definitely want to make sure that you have available to you. When you have those in place, attend all of our open houses, our webinars. This past year, we've done tons of webinars online, which has been great because we've been able to reach out to hundreds of people and they can ask questions directly to us. We can answer, we can share experiences with them. Feel free to email us anytime at science@uwindsor.ca. If you have questions about the programs, we'll put you in touch with the academic advisors in those programs as well. But most importantly, when you do arrive, and if you are thinking of coming to the University of Windsor, we definitely want you to know that we have lots of opportunities for you guys to be involved both in and out of the classroom. So we have a philosophy that learning doesn't end when you exit the lecture hall, but that learning continues in everything that you do on our campus. So we have lots of opportunities for experiential learning through our clubs, as we mentioned, through service learning, through internship, undergraduate research, study abroad, working with our community partners. As you mentioned, the Ignite program, we hire Ignite students all the time to do various things within science itself. So, we have a 1:17 faculty to student ratio, which means we have lots of opportunities for you to be involved and partner with our faculty. Our students play a huge role in further developing and the evolution of the Faculty of Science, and they truly are partners with us. And that's one of the major things that we want students to know, is that you enter a partnership with us. It's kind of like a family. Everybody plays their role. Everybody has an important part in that piece as well. So yeah, lots of great stuff happening in science at UWindsor.
I was just about to say that one of the things that's so great about the University of Windsor is we are all like a family. Every faculty, every student, we're all here to support each other, and it's a very close-knit community. And it's something that I think students would really enjoy and current students enjoy right now. We did have a question actually come through from Kennedy, and I'd like to direct it to you, Dr. Cavallo. It says, do you hope or think that the university will continue to incorporate varying levels of online learning in the future? Do you think that's something that your faculty, the programs will still continue into 2022?
Yeah, so well, definitely in the fall, we're going to have a variety of different types of learning modules. From some classes will be face-to-face, some will be hybrid, some will be high flex, some will be just online. And again, that's all dependent on the public health regulations and restrictions that are in place within our communities. But moving forward from that, we already do have some courses that are distance learning that have always been online courses. I think one of the things that we've learned is that we probably can do a lot more incorporation of online in addition to the face-to-face. I think most professors like the face-to-face option. It allows us, again, as I mentioned earlier, to be able to better connect with our students. But I think there's some things that we've learned that maybe work better. Some parts of your course might work better online. And so I think we'll probably still continue to see some of it moving into 2022, although I think majority will move back to a face-to-face format. As we know, again, we want to have that social interaction as well.
Yes, and I know it's great to try and keep both, but I can definitely appreciate and understand, especially courses that have labs or internships that are very hands-on. It would be hard to continue with the online, but I think taking a hybrid approach is something that the University of Windsor should definitely consider in the future. And like you just said, I think that's the direction we are going to go in. Nulia and Josh, I want to continue on our conversation with you as well. So, after this year of online learning, what advice would you give a high school student who is interested in attending the University of Windsor? And Josh, I'll start with you. So what advice would you give someone for a student who's recently just pressed that accept button and they are coming here in the fall?
The best advice that I would give for a prospective university student would be, don't try to do too much all at once. I have personally experienced it myself. I have personally witnessed it where students have just so heavy workloads. They're going day in and day out, just study. And by the end of the semester, they were just wrecked. So at least once a week, try to take a day to just calm down a little, slow things down, let yourself reboot, reprogram yourself, and then get back to that at your own pace without causing yourself to be worn out.
That's great advice. And Nulia, same question. Do you have any advice that you'd give to a high school student who's interested in attending or has already accepted for this fall?
Well, once this is all over, don't just sit down on your computer. Going online, that's not really helpful. I meant you can see the students there, but you might not get to know them really because you won't see them face to face. If it's face to face, that'll be much better. So my advice is throughout this year, after this online, just go out in person again. Be yourself. Try to think about what might happen, and be happy, joyful. Well, not really much. Thanks.
I agree. I think you really need to just get out and, after being at home and being isolated on your computer, it's going to be tough for students to come back to school and see so many faces. So it's just about being confident in yourself and making those connections and those friends. So I totally understand where you're coming from. And I can see some more questions coming through. So I'd like to take the question actually from Lauren. This question's for Josh and Nulia. And the question is, what classes did you enjoy during your first year? And is there any class you'd recommend to a first year student? So what was your favorite first year course? And Josh, I'll go with you first.
Ooh, that's definitely a tough one. If I were to pick, I would personally have to say I really enjoyed taking the early and later British Lit classes, only because it mixes two things that I'm really fascinated about, and that's literature and history. It blends the two into teaching you about both in one easy 12-week course.
Definitely. And I've actually taken those courses too, and I'd have to agree with you. And it really allows you as a student to read so much literature, and just, it's a great little intro to your first year, especially in Lit. And Nulia, same question. Did you have a favorite course in your first year? Anything you'd recommend for someone interested in the sciences, or, any courses that you may have taken in first year?
Well, I kind of like biological diversity, like I did with Dr. Cavallo. Well, helping us understand the most stages in our bodies and how males attract females. And I also like statistics of sciences, one of the science courses. It's more like math, but more calculations and getting to know the science inside it. And for those who want to get to know their body better, I think they might want to do cell bio first before biological diversity.
That's a really good point. And I think Dr. Cavallo probably loved the shout out there as well. And we have another question in the chat, actually from Pauline. And I'd actually like to direct it to Dr. Cavallo. What are some strategies that you could give to students, to make sure they succeed and also reduce stress, especially students, having to take 4+ courses? I know the sciences, it's a lot of work, and you got to put the work in. So what are some, strategies that you could share to students who are studying now and future students coming in, just to make sure that they're successful?
Yeah, the number one thing I tell students in first year is time management. You have to be able to effectively manage your time, and that means you have to get organized with your time. And it requires getting a calendar out and putting dates down when you have assignments and midterms and final exams and that kind of stuff. Because as Pauline mentioned, there's not just going to be one course you have to think about. Most students take 4 to 5 courses, plus they may have outside responsibilities, family responsibilities, work responsibilities, friends that they want to spend time with and that kind of stuff. So time management is absolutely key, and sticking with it. It also requires that I tell students, you don't start studying for a midterm a couple days before the midterm. You start studying the midterm the day that stuff is taught in class. So you are every night going back home and reviewing, just a quick review of what did you learn today. And then on the weekends, maybe spending a little bit more time getting into your readings and that kind of stuff, so that by the time the midterm comes, you actually have been studying for weeks. You've been doing it in various different ways to get yourself prepared. And the third thing is ask questions. If you have a question about the material, if there's something you don't understand, write the question down and find the answer. And usually the answer can be in your textbook, in your notes. And if you still can't find it, ask the professor or GATA, because without answering those questions, those become gaps and holes in your knowledge. And that's, you'll figure that out once you get to the midterm and you're like, oh, I had a question about that and I forgot to ask. So always ask questions. And I find that students that ask questions always tend to do better, because they're constantly building and building and building on that knowledge. So time management, keeping up with your studies, doing it all the time, and asking questions. Those are my top 3 tips.
I'd like to echo that. Definitely ask questions. The professors here at the University of Windsor are so approachable, and they are here to support you. So they're just an email or a phone call or a chat or just a conversation away. So don't be hesitant to reach out to them. I think we have time for one more question. So I'd like to have Gabriella's question pop up. She asks, what is one thing you wish you knew before you graduated or you entered the University of Windsor? So I'll go to you first, Nulia. What's one thing you wish you knew before coming to the University of Windsor? And you can also say nothing if there's nothing. But yeah, one thing you wish you knew.
Don't plagiarize or you'll get kicked out.
That is a really good rule to remember. What about you, Josh?
Something I'd like to pass on to those heading into university is there's a lot of class diversity that I wasn't aware of until I started applying for classes. For some programs, you have mandatory credits that need to be attained. For example, for mine, I had to take 2 science and 2 social science courses. And in doing that, I learned so many things about how many classes are considered different things. Computer sciences in the science, political science in a social science, philosophy being technically an arts credit. And there's just a vast array of diversity in the classes that you can choose, where it doesn't always feel like you're taking, say, a science course when you're getting a science credit, or an arts course when you're taking an arts credit.
No, definitely. I would have to agree. And just for future students, study those classes, see what you can take, because there are so many great options for you. And maybe if you're one of those students who don't necessarily know what you want to do in the future, well, this is a great opportunity for you to take classes in many different faculties, the sciences, the social sciences, psychology, and learn a little bit more about yourself and what you want to pursue in the future. At this point, I would love to thank our guests today. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Nulia. Thank you, Dr. Cavallo, for attending. It was so fantastic to hear from you. And if your students listening in, like Dr. Cavallo said, it's super easy to reach out to our faculty. If you have any questions, you can just go on the UWindsor website, look up an email, send an email, and our staff here, professors here at the university, would be more than happy to help you out with any questions you have. Again, thank you. We loved hearing your perspectives and experiences over this past year. And for those watching, thanks for spending time with us today and tuning into the Windsor Wednesday show. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming on. And thanks for hosting, Kelly.
No problem. Thanks, guys.